everybody, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is AMC Movie News production manager, Dennison.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of AMC Movie Talk, or what Christian Harloff likes to call the show he does before Jedi Council.
Also, here is AMC's Christian Harloff.
Hey, Ashley, do me a favor, stay on target.
I'll try.
Target.
I'll try. Also, here's AMC's Mark Ellis.
You remember when you were in 6th grade and you had to keep a laugh until the end of class because it was that good? This is going to be a long show for me.
All right. Variety is reporting that Star Trek star Chris Pine is now in negotiations to appear in the upcoming Wonder Woman film for Warner Brothers and DC. According to the report, Pine would play Steve Trevor, the longtime romantic interest for Wonder Woman. Although several incarnations of Trevor have appeared, he originally was a U.S. soldier whose plane crash lands on Paradise Island, exposing the secret civilization to the world. Dennis, would the addition of Chris Pine be a good move for Wonder Woman?
I think it would, especially considering that Gal Gadot is not a big name, and you bring someone like Chris Pine in, who's led 2 big franchises with Star Trek and Jack Ryan, and people generally like him. I also like that the studio is making moves like this, trying to get someone good and well-known in this role, as long as that character doesn't overshadow Wonder Woman and it doesn't become the Chris Pine show. But another thing it does do, though, is there was all those rumors about Chris Pine possibly being Hal Jordan for the next Green Lantern. Well, if he becomes this, he's not going to be Green Lantern at all. What do you think, Christian?
It's also interesting because we don't know if there's going to be a period piece movie, because there's also rumors that with Wonder Woman being very old by the time, I don't know, hundreds of years old, so they could do a period piece and make him part of like the 40s, 50s, whatever they wanted to do when he first stumbles upon her. I love the idea of Chris Pine as Steve Trevor. I think it is perfect casting. And I agree with you 100% that because although by the time that Wonder Woman standalone movie comes out, she'll already have been in Batman v Superman, and the audience is either going to be on board with her or they're going to be like, who cares about this standalone film? She was terrible in the last one. I don't think it's going to be the case. I think it'll be the former. I think that she's going to wind up delivering as Wonder Woman. But yes, having Chris Pine to work against, he's got a lot of charisma. I think he's perfect for this role.
Exactly, man. It's a safety net, you know? It's a famous guy that's going to be in this movie that's not playing Wonder Woman. He's playing opposite Wonder Woman. Plus, when you see the story of how Steve Trevor first meets Wonder Woman, he crash lands on Paradise Island. That is a Captain Kirk story, if I've ever heard one. And this guy's played Captain Kirk. Plus, you know his Star Trek experience makes sure, like, he's not gonna falter in a big name movie like this. I mean, if you can lead Star Trek, the reboot of Star Trek, you can certainly support somebody else in a film like Wonder Woman. And I don't think the overshadowing thing, just because of the way that Wonder Woman has so much lore around her, she has so many powers. You're just a dude who flies an airplane. You're not going to overshadow Wonder Woman. I think the story's going to be geared towards her. But Chris Pine, it proves it. I mean, look, they're serious about making this a franchise in its own and not just having her be one of the Justice League.
Well, I think, though, her role in Batman v Superman is probably, this is just my speculation, is not going to be huge. She's going to be in it, but I don't know how big of a role.
Yeah, but more than just like an extra. Enough to where we'll say, okay, I'm buying it, I want to see more, or uh-oh. You're going to get one of the two. Even if it's a 5-minute scene, you're still going to know, oh, I'm not buying it. And again, I think we are going to buy it. But the question is, it looks like they're doing something different than Marvel in general, which I like, is that you're going to be introduced to her first, and I would assume that the Wonder Woman movie would be a prequel, or because it's an origin story, and she'd already be established in current times in Batman v Superman, right?
Yeah.
I like that. If they're doing that, that's something different. Marvel, I mean, even with Captain America was set up first and in the period piece, and then the Avengers all tied in. I kind of like them going back and forth, that they can piece it and it makes sense and it's not sloppy.
And we see this before with comic book movies where you can cast somebody big just simply as the love interest. I mean, Gwyneth Paltrow is a pretty big name. Yeah. She was with Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man. Natalie Portman was a bigger name than Chris Hemsworth when Thor was being made, and that didn't seem to detract from that. I think that her presence at another star only adds to the power of what this movie could be.
Well, there's a role reversal, though, because there's not that many female-led, superhero movies or even action movies in general. So you're getting someone who's a bigger name on the male side versus a relatively unknown female.
And they have to have chemistry.
Yeah.
If they don't have chemistry, that movie, see you later.
Have you seen his blue eyes, Christian?
I'm not worried about him.
Have great chemistry with anybody.
I really liked her. She didn't have to really act too much in the Fast and Furious movies, but I like her. I think she's going to be good.
Okay.
Hey.
All right, what's next?
Production has officially begun on the new Tom Cruise movie, Mina, being directed by his Edge of Tomorrow director, Doug Liman. Mina follows an international escapade based on the outrageous and real exploits of Barry Seal, a hustler and pilot unexpectedly recruited by the CIA to run one of the biggest covert operations in U.S. history. Christian, how do you like the sounds of Mina?
Maverick running some covert operations. I love it. I love this story. I love the idea. And I think that Cruise reteam with Doug Liman. You all know how I felt about Edge of Tomorrow. It was a surprise, and a surprise that I could watch over and over and over again. I guess that's part of what the movie's all about anyway. But it's these two teaming up, and to see Cruise play a little more edgy. Again, he's great at that. He's great at the sarcastic, fun character, but going on a mission. It's almost like Maverick meets Ethan Hunt, kind of, when you hear him teaming up with Liman to do this story. So it sounds pretty great.
Mark?
When you look at pictures of Barry Seal, as I was glancing at before we went to air, he's not the best looking dude in the world. He's certainly no Tom Cruise. So I wonder what Tom Cruise's physical stature is going to be. I wonder if there's going to be prosthetic makeup to play this guy. The story itself is fascinating. I mean, this guy was a drug runner for the Medellin cartel, and then once the feds get a hold of him, it's like, hey, you can do some favors for us. So he was really one of the guys that exposed Pablo Escobar and his empire to America. So there's a blow element to all of this that I think is going to be fascinating. And yeah, the Top Gun angle is clearly, it's like you get to see Tom Cruise in an airplane, but it's not going to be that Tom Cruise at all. So it's an intriguing premise and a step outside of his comfort zone, which we've seen Tom Cruise do in the past and knock out of the park. He might be gunning for an Oscar with this.
Well, I don't think they're going to be ugling up Tom Cruise anytime soon for this role. I mean, there's plenty of movies based on real characters where you see them and like later you see who they cast. You're like, well, they don't really look exactly like that. They're like, for example, I just watched Woman in Gold. If you see Ryan Reynolds plays a real character, a real person, and you look at the real footage of the guy, you're like, no.
But they schlubbed up Ryan Reynolds for that role. They threw some glasses on him, gave him a worse haircut. You know, I mean,
so they Clark Kented it.
Yeah. They Clark Kented, but I brought up Blow. George Young was also not the most attractive dude, and they got Johnny Depp to play him. Yeah. So I totally get your point.
I like this. It's one of those cases where a movie, Edge of Tomorrow, was really good, but it just didn't do very well. But the director wasn't blamed for it because Tom Cruise still wants to work with them. The studio still want him. They recognized that it was a good movie. Right. When in most cases, if you have like something that's a box office bomb, they try to get rid of you right away.
But it wasn't a bomb, though.
It wasn't a bomb, but it definitely wasn't what they were expecting.
Yeah, but it was also, I think what it was is because what people who did see it weren't just saying, no, that was okay. People were raving about it. And the online word was people loved this movie.
Oh, yeah. Critics loved it and fans loved it, but box office-wise, it just didn't do very well. And a lot of it had to do, I think, with the marketing and also kind of the Oblivion thing. People were like, definitely. "Oh, we just saw him in a."
It just looked too similar.
Even though it wasn't, it looked.
When you saw the trailer, when you see the trailer for this movie, I think it's going to be such a departure for Tom Cruise. Plus, you have the added element of, is there any doubt that he's actually going to be flying one of these planes? I think Tom Cruise might be smuggling drugs just to get ready for the role right now.
It was just real quick, just to say, domestically it made $100 million, but overall it made almost $400 million. So
nice.
Still not bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of Doug Liman ever since he started directing with Swingers. And then he did Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He did the Firstborn movie. People forget that because Greengrass did the next two. But yeah, I like this. All right, on to our next section, buy or sell. Ashley, what do we got?
Deadline is reporting that Andrew Barrera and Gabriel Ferrari, who did production rewrites on Marvel's upcoming Ant-Man, have been added to the writing group guiding the Transformers franchise for Paramount. The report also claims that one of the movies being looked at is Transformers 1, which would take place entirely on Cybertron and possibly be a fully animated feature. Mark Byers saw the news in this report.
I'm going to buy it because this is the right way to continue the Transformers franchise. There's nowhere else to go from what Michael Bay has done with those first four movies. So calling it Transformers 1 is awesome. Let's get rid of those other four movies. It taking place entirely on another planet where you're just going to have Transformers going against each other. That's not, yesterday we were talking about how, like, when are they going to make a video game movie that's all CGI? Yeah. Here's your opportunity right here. It's a known brand. It's also, you could do so much more with that with a lesser budget than you would have to do live action. If they're going to strictly animate it, there's a pretty good track record with Transformers being animated. That 1986-7 movie is still hailed as a classic, and it's definitely the best Transformers movie I've ever seen, so I'm buying it.
Yeah, I'm buying it as well. 2 Transformer stories in 1 week, and I'm buying it. I'm surprised at myself. Yeah, it sounds very interesting because that it is a prequel. It's going to be supposedly fully animated, and there won't be any humans in it. This is kind of what we've been asking for, right, Christian?
Yeah, I buy it as well too, and it's almost like everyone over there is going, "Hey, we're sorry." We're working on it. But I don't know if necessarily Transformers 1 means they're rebooting the rest of those other ones. It could mean whether it be a planet or something else, whatever they're calling it. It could be a reboot. I don't know. It wasn't clear. But what I like about it, that is taking place on Cybertron, that we get to see just the absolute best of the Transformers and stay away from the silly humans in this one. But it's funny because I would like to actually, I know it would be expensive, but I'd actually see a live action version of that. My biggest problem with the Transformers movies towards the end were just how silly and dopey the humans were. Because if it was just a story about developing the characters of the actual Transformers, I would have been cool with that. And putting them on the planet is cool. I'm certainly for an animation film, like the 86 version is my favorite, but I think that I'd rather see an animation version of that, maybe, I don't know, tie into a spinoff of that actual movie, the live action version of that. But I like what they're doing so far, so I buy it.
It sounds promising to me. Is there Bud Light on Cybertron?
Yeah,
that's the big question.
Yeah.
But it sounds like a prequel to me. That's what by the name and what it's they're gonna do with it. I think it's gonna be the same characters, but I mean, even without the humans, it's not like they were developing the characters of the Transformers anyway.
No, they didn't. That's what I kind of hope that they do. Like, so if they put them a live action version of, and you can make it. I know that's expensive, so instead of doing a 2 hour and 45 minute, do an hour and 45 minute movie. Put it on Cybertron. Show me the development of how the politics on that planet and what's happening and the action there and how they interact with each other there. That's a cool movie, and you don't need humans in it because we've already developed the characters enough. Like Prime on Cybertron, sign me up.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
The first trailer for the Jesse Eisenberg and Jason Segel film The End of the Tour has hit the web. Based on true events, The End of the Tour tells the story of the 5-day interview between Rolling Stone reporter and novelist David Lipsky Eisenberg and acclaimed novelist David Foster Wallace Segel, which took place right after the 1996 publication of Wallace's groundbreaking epic novel Infinite Jest. As the days go on, a tenuous yet intense relationship seems to develop between journalist and subject. Dennis Baristel, the first trailer for The End of the Tour.
I buy it. It looks interesting. It doesn't. The one thing I like about it too is it doesn't give the entire movie away. You see kind of the flavor of it. We've seen Jesse Eisenberg in serious roles. We haven't seen Jason Segel. I watched How I Met Your Mother, and he actually had like one rare dramatic scene in the series, and he actually did a good job with it. So I believe that he can do well in this one. I also like the opening line of the trailer about how Jesse Eisenberg's character thinks that, oh, this guy's life is the life that I want. And that's always kind of the case when people see people on TV or in movies or just, famous people. They're like, oh, I wish if my life was just like theirs, it'd be perfect, right? But like this guy, he slowly realized, no, his life isn't perfect and he's not a perfect person. So what do you think, Christian?
I buy it, and we've seen him Jason Segel do some dramatic with Jeff Lives at Home. Okay, and then even in that silly movie, what was the one he did with Emily Blunt? That was
5-Year Engagement.
5-Year Engagement. Yeah. That movie, even though it was geared as a comedy, for the most part, there's a lot of dramatic.
He was dramatic.
He was dramatic in it. Now, but this seems like a different role that we haven't seen him do before because he's not. Well, in the trailer anyway, which is what I liked. He wasn't over the top. He seemed real. I bought him in that wig, all that stuff, and who knows? It might as well have been him actually grow his hair out. But I think the casting of the back and forth with him and Eisenberg already in that trailer was working for me, and it had a mixture of like Almost Famous meets Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind from the way that it was filmed and the music, and I was actually really excited after I watched it. I said, this looks like something I really want to see, and mostly, to be honest, because of Jason Segel, to see what he can do in a role like that.
Mark?
Yeah, he looks not like Jason Segel did in Sex Tape, which means I'm going to buy it. Because I think this guy has so much talent, and I want to see a more dramatic side of what he can do. I was watching this trailer. I was like, the first 30 seconds, I'm like, this feels like an REM song. Then REM comes on for the rest of the trailer, and it's perfect. I mean, it seems like they knocked this tone out of the park. Like you said, Christian, it's like a more stripped down Almost Famous, where you have somebody, and he really looks up to someone else when they actually get to meet. What happens when your ideals of fame, when you get close enough to them, do they all come crashing down? It's perfect. It's so right for Jesse Eisenberg. And I think Jason Segel, at least from this trailer, it looks like he can match wits with him dramatically. The trailer, you're right, it doesn't give away too much. I'm more interested in this from when I read the synopsis, so it was a perfect trailer. Let's see the movie.
And I think James Ponsoldt is directing it, the guy who did Spectacular Now, which I haven't seen, but I heard it was really good.
I love Spectacular Now. That's great.
So if he was able to pull those performances out of Miles Teller and what's the diver? Shailene Woodley, then I think he could do it.
Yeah,
with
I
these
agree
two.
with you. Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Actors Laura Dern and Woody Harrelson are now set to star in the upcoming feature film adaptation of the graphic novel Wilson. Wilson will be directed by the skeleton twins Helmer, Craig Johnson, and follows the story of Wilson, a lonely man who sets out to find his ex-wife with the hope of rekindling their long-dead relationship, and discovers he has a teenage daughter born after the marriage ended and given up for adoption. Wilson eventually forces all three to reconnect as a family, a doomed mission that will surely inevitably backfire. Christian Barris tell the sounds of Wilson.
Quote Lou Brown from Major League. I don't know. I'm going to sell it. It just doesn't sound. I love Woody Harrelson. I like Laura Dern, but it doesn't. I could see this movie and change my tune and go, wow, look at the performances out of that movie. Who saw that coming? But by hearing it, if you put two things, you put that synopsis of the Jason Segel and Eisenberg movie next to this one, I'm taking the other one.
Mark?
I'm gonna buy it because Woody Harrelson, when I think it was called The Messenger, he's such a good dramatic actor when he puts his mind to it, and when his mind isn't in the clouds, so to speak. Him and Laura Dern, I think that this is something they can really sink their teeth into. That premise is horrifying. You're looking for your ex-wife, and you find out that you had a kid. God, that sounds terrifying. And it sounds like this dude is so lonely, and it's the right time in his life for Woody Harrelson to be playing something like this. I think he's gonna crush this character. So yeah, I'm buying it.
I'm going to buy it as well. And Woody Harrelson was fantastic in Out of the Furnace.
Mm-hmm.
He was that was a nice dramatic role. He's very intimidating. I buy it mainly because Laura Dern and Woody Harrelson with Craig Johnson, who directed Kristen Wiig and Bill Hader in Skeleton Twins.
Yeah. I like that movie.
So he was able to pull out these fantastic performances from these normally comedic actors, and then now he's going to take on two actors that are very seasoned, acclaimed, and veteran actors. I think he's going to do a good job with it.
Yeah, and Woody Harrelson's coming off a True Detective as well, which this might be some of his best work so far. You're not going to get any complaints from me from the directing, the actors, but it's just hearing about the story, and I go,
Yeah.
He's a lonely dude, and his name's Wilson. Now we get the volleyball backstory to Tom Hanks.
So he's CGI. He's motion capped the whole time.
I don't think that's the movie,
No?
Christian. No, Dennis just told us it wasn't.
Well, then I definitely sell it.
All right, guys, that's it for buy or sell. Now onto the mailbag portion. If you have a question, you can email us at amcmovietalk@gmail.com, and we'll answer some of your questions. For now, what do we got?
Sean Hood writes the 2013 biodrama about Steve Jobs focused almost exclusively on his work at Apple and less about his personal life or other work. I was disappointed. Do you think we will see more than just Apple in the upcoming film Steve Jobs starring Michael Fassbender?
From what I've heard, no, not at all. It's supposed to be even less about his personal life. It's supposed to be about his the three scenes before keynote speeches, like before the iPhone keynote speech, iMac, and the iPad. So I don't see it about his personal life. Have you guys heard anything different?
I thought I would assume that it wasn't. It was going to be a lot more about his personal life because it was based off the novel by the book by Walter Isaacson, which covers a lot of his personal life and a lot of how he him being adopted and with his family in the beginning, and how he met Wozniak, and then with his relationship with his wives and his kids. So I would, if they're going to go off the stuff in the book, which is I thought they were, I would assume yes. But then you're
from what I heard, Sorkin's script was supposedly just 3 really long scenes.
Really,
and they were all right before big keynote. That may have changed, but that's the last that I heard of it. Have you heard anything?
that movie and that script has been through some changes, so I don't know if that's the updated version or that was the old version. I remember that we were talking a few months ago about how they were filming in the actual garage where him and Wozniak were messing around with electronics for the first time. So
maybe there's flashback sequences.
It could be something like that. I mean, that seems like the way to tell that. If that's what the story is, then that would definitely be the way to do it. And I actually like the 2013 version. Okay, I just wish they had gotten deeper into that. I know he did a lot of stuff outside of Apple, but the most intriguing part, the reason why you're making 2 biopics in 3 years about this guy is because of Apple and what he was able to bring to the table there. So that's exactly who I want to see. I just want to get a little bit deeper under the skin.
Okay, I guess we'll probably have to go read up on the script. And
now we're going to have to see the movie.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Jerry Taylor writes, hello, AMC. Thank you guys and gals for what you do, and congratulations on Phase 3. With the rise in popularity of animated Disney movies being turned into live-action films, are there any non-Disney animated films you would be interested in seeing live-action adaptations of? Me, personally, I would like to see a live-action version of The Iron Giant.
I would say I'd want to see Titan AE, except for we already had Joss Whedon, who wrote that script. He made Firefly and Serenity, which had a lot of stuff that were similar to that. For me, it'd probably be Anastasia, the Don Bluth film that Fox put out. That was kind of very Disney-esque. They had all the singing, the female lead. I think Meg Ryan did the voice for that, and John Cusack as well, and Christopher Lloyd. What about you, Christian?
Transformers 1986.
Oh, they tried that, buddy.
Yeah, they did. That's true. Akira, that'd be?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a non-Disney animated movie that.
I mean, I think they were talking about doing it forever.
Yeah.
So,
there was rumors that Zac Efron may have been playing Kaneda in a whitewashed version.
Really?
That was the rumor, like maybe last year or 2 years ago.
That'll probably happen. I think Leonardo DiCaprio at one point was going to produce it or something.
Yeah, something like that.
So that would be an interesting one as to, and then it'd probably wind up being CGI. I know they're going to remake it, but Secret of NIMH would be interesting if I don't know how they would do it, but I know that'd be interesting because you're talking rats. I know. You hear it and you go, well, that's just going to be like Paddington run around. How do they do that serious? But who knows?
Yeah, my answer is no. I can't think of anything other than, an American Tale, but that's the same problem you get into with The Secret of NIMH. It's like, do you really want to see them come to life? You want to see a guy in a rat suit? So, no, sorry. I got nothing.
Ashley, is there any non-Disney animated movie that you'd like to see a live adaptation
We just
of?
saw a sponge on land, so what's so bad about rats? I don't know.
Well, look,
why wouldn't, if a sponge works, why wouldn't a rat work?
Master Splinter is great, okay? It's one of my favorite part of Ninja Turtles, but keep in mind, that's a rat that came into contact with mutagen. If we can get the Secret of NIMH and Fievel to face off in a pool of mutagen, there's your movie right there.
Perfect. There it is. That's what I want to see.
Okay. All right, guys, that's it for this episode of AMC Movie Talk. I want to thank the people on the panel with me today. Christian, where can people find you?
First, you can go to Twitter or Instagram, Christian Harloff, and make sure you watch AMC Jedi Council every Thursday. That's today. And today, Mark Ellis is going to be on there.
I love that guy.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Max Nicholson from IGN. And to get your questions on the air, all you got to do is just hashtag AMC Jedi Council. We're doing a bunch of them today.
Mark?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at 5150else and include me in the hashtag for AMC Jedi Council. That's the name of the program.
That's it.
Let's do this. I want to field these questions too. You get my comedy album online at iTunes. Get to the castle.
And Ashley, where can people find you?
On Twitter and on Instagram at Ashley Milva. Happy Thursday, guys.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, on Instagram, Dennis.tzng. And don't forget to subscribe to the AMC Theaters YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/AMC Theaters. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.